Hello and welcome back to THC series on interviews with great Americans.
Shh, keep it down. Remember, I'm not exactly friends with the British.
Oh, right, sorry. Today I'll be interviewing a very special guest, Paul Revere. He was one of the most important figures in American history and is most famous for his midnight ride on the eve of the beginning of the Revolutionary War. I am intrigued about your life and have many questions for you. I'd like to start at the beginning. Where and when you were born?
I was born in the last week of 1734 in the town of Boston.
Okay, tell us a little more about your family. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had 8 siblings, but 2 died when they were still babies. I was the firstborn boy, and my sister Deborah was 3 years earlier and is the oldest of the children in my family.
What were your parents like?
My mom's name was Deborah, and my father's name was Apollos Revere. He later changed it to Revere. He was only 13 years old. He came to America from France looking for a better life. While in America, he learned to trade and work with silver. Soon he became a very skilled silversmith.
Interesting. Where did you live when you were growing up?
My family lived in Boston, in a small house on Fifth Street. All the houses were very close to the water. I grew up watching ships arrive from England carrying tea, furniture, and other goods for people.
What were your interests when you were a child? And what were some of your favorite child activities?
Well, I liked playing on my Nintendo 3DS and iPad Air. Oh, Flappy Bird was the best. My score was 147,239. Then my iPad ran out of battery and I lost my score. What a disappointment. No, just kidding. We did not have electronic toys when I was young. Toys like these are fairly new inventions. Even Andrew's dad did not have these types of gadgets. My favorite activities were swimming, riding horses, and playing with friends.
Here's another question about your childhood. Did you ever go to school?
Yes, in fact I did. I used horn books, which were small wooden paddles with clear sheets of animal horn, and a lesson would be slipped under the horn so it did not get dirty. Middle-class children like me went to writing school, but I have to admit, sorry, Miss Bennett, my father was my most important teacher. Every day I practiced the same trade as my father in the silversmith shop. Learning from my dad was hard and dangerous. Huge blocks of melting silver in a small wooden house, and that does not scream danger. I'm not sure what you think would.
That does sound very dangerous and hard. Did you ever like it?
Are you kidding me? I loved it. I made simple but graceful pieces, and many think I was very skilled at this trade.
Interesting. Another question. When did you leave home?
Well, I left home a year after my dad died. I was 19 when that happened, so I left home at 20.
Why did you leave home?
I do not really know. I guess I just wanted an adventure.
What did you do after you left home?
Well, I became a soldier.
Oh, so you had some more effort, which is good?
Actually, I did a lot more than just that. I was only in the war for a few years, and I absolutely hated it. The smoke, the sound of guns, it was just not my thing. So I went home and made gunpowder. Keep in mind, the war I was in was not the Revolutionary War. It was the French-Indian War. During that time, I fought alongside the British Redcoats.
I'll ask you more about the war soon. That is
good, because I have a lot more to say.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your life as an adult? Did you marry? Did you have any children?
Yes, I did marry, and I had many children. I married Sarah Orne, and we had 8 kids together. 3 died young, and then my wife died not too long after having a daughter, Izana. Izana died too a little while after that. This was a very hard time for me. I had 5 kids and needed a wife to help raise. In time, I met Rachel Walker, and in less than a year, I was married. And we had 8 more children. 3 of these 8 children died young too. Now we had 10 living children, a wife. Life was good.
Okay, I was also wondering, was there a particular incident that caused you to get really fired up about English moves?
Well, actually, there was. On March 22nd, 1765, the British Parliament passed the Stamp Act, creating a new tax on every piece of printed paper. We even used newspapers and playing cards.
What?
Crazy, right? Well, that's what happened. Taxes and trade, and this set a new unwelcome standard. What were the British thinking? Taxes were meant to regulate trade, but the Stamp Act was created to raise money to help pay the cost of defending and protecting the frontier lands near the Appalachian Mountains. England was trying to raise money in the colonies without our legislators' approval. If we let this new law pass without resistance, it left the door open for future taxation, and that was troublesome. And boy, were we mad, so we protested.
That makes sense. Was it easy to organize the protest?
Not exactly. It took months of organizing and many protests. Eventually we became known as the Sons of Liberty. We worked together to protect the rights of the colonists against the abuses of the British government. The first celebration over the success of defeating the Stamp Act did not last long.
Why?
2 years later, taxes were passed on glass, paper, paint, and tea.
Wow, the Parliament does not understand. No taxation without representation.
That is what happens when a king leads your country.
Oh, my next question is what was the Boston Massacre?
The Boston Massacre was a very unfortunate incident. A shopboy was upset with a British soldier because he refused to pay for the work the boy had done repairing the soldier's wig. The boy and the soldier started fighting in the street. Several colonists heard the fighting and came running armed with snowballs, stones, and sticks to defend the boy. The soldier yelled for reinforcements. The fighting escalated into a much larger fight, and boom, bang, pow, ding! 4 men lay there dead. The British opened fire when they were not supposed to, causing men to die. 4 days later, after that incident, Sam Adams, a friend of mine, called it the Boston Massacre, and I made the copper engravings so we could print it over and over again.
Wow, so you say they were not authorized to shoot?
Indeed, they were not.
I have 3 more questions, and that's it.
Okay, proceed.
My next question is about the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party. Can you tell me what happened there?
It was a protest by the Sons of Liberty in Boston in response to the Tea Act. A shipment of tea had just arrived at the harbor from the East Indian Company. We boarded the ship and threw the chest of tea off the ship before they could be unloaded, ruining the tea. You see, no one wants to buy wet tea.
Wow, how come the British didn't recognize you?
Oh, British
Who's
are
that?
coming!
Get out of here!
You seen Paul Revere?
I have not seen Paul Revere.
He's wanted.
I have not seen Paul Revere. I promised you I have not seen Paul
The
Revere.
reward is 90 shillings.
Never seen him.
You sure he was a secret?
Never.
Stole a horse.
Never seen him.
Fine.
What's over there? Patrick, you can come back. I mean, Paul, you can come back. You can come back, Paul. Come on, Paul. He's gone.
That was close.
Very. Whew. So as you were talking about, the Boston Tea Party Act.
Well, some of us were disguised as Indians. Mohawk Indians, to be exact.
Okay, my next question is about what most people remember you for, your famed Midnight Ride. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, certainly. It was the spring of 1775. At the time, I was employed as an express rider. I carried news and messages to different parts of the colonies. I was sent by Dr. Warren to warn Samuel Adams and John Hancock that the British troops were coming to arrest them. On a borrowed horse, I set off on my ride. I hung 2 lanterns on the bell tower of the Christ Church on Boston.
Like the one right here.
This is the exact one one of the exact ones I hung. Church on Boston alerting the Sons of Liberty that the British troops were coming by sea. You see, we had discussed these signals the weekend before. I went from house to house along the way to Lexington, screaming, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" I got caught eventually, but not before I was able to deliver my message.
My final question. Did the colonists win the Revolutionary War, or did they have to go to war again for their country?
Yes, we did win the war and eventually became the United States of America, one of the most powerful countries in the world.
That's it for now, and we hope you enjoyed the interview.